Call of the Day with Brendan Tierney and Sal Licata on The Fan.
All right, today's Call of the Day brought to you by Ramsey Mazda. Choose wisely. Choose Ramsey Mazda.
Payoff pitch to Mays. And it's rolled back in left field. It could be. It's going, and it is a home run. A home run for Willie Mays. Number 647 in his career. Willie Mays gets a great ovation from the crowd and in the dugout from the Mets as he belted a 3-2 pitch over the left field wall.
I never feel that I would ever quit baseball. But as you know, it always comes a time for someone to get out. And I look at the kids over here, the way they are playing, and the way they are fighting for themselves, tells me one thing. Willie, say goodbye to America. Thank you very much.
There you go. So we wanted to make it special today. That's the BT and Sal Call of the Day. The great Willie Mays, the incomparable Willie Mays. You know, and I think the first sports name that I ever heard as a kid was Babe Ruth. I'm pretty sure the second that I ever heard was Willie Mays. And, you know, my dad didn't see Babe Ruth. He did see Willie, growing up as a Dodger fan with Duke and obviously Mick in the Bronx. And, hey, listen, I don't agree with my dad on everything, but I trust him a lot. And when I've heard for 40-plus years that Willie Mays is the best all-around baseball player in the history of baseball, I'll believe him. So I've always thought that. So rest in peace, 93. It's not tragic. He's lived an amazing life, but it's one to celebrate. And not just on the baseball Mount Rushmore, Muhammad Ali and Gretzky and MJ and Jesse Owens. And he's one of those Titan, Jackie Robinson. He's just a Titan that is really impossible to compare to.
Yeah, it's just sad. I mean, that's life, obviously. Time goes by. He was 93, like you said, lived a full life. And for us, even though I didn't watch him play, I mean, it's one of those names that you hear about forever, whether it's from your grandfather, whether it's from watching the games and the reference point, Ruth, Mays, Mantle. Like, it was always those three. I mean, you can throw others in there, Aaron or DiMaggio or Gehrig, but I mean, Willie Mays, by most accounts, was always the greatest player to ever live. And the fact that he was a Met makes it a little more interesting to me. And I saw it actually during the Yankee game last night. Michael Kay had the breaking news. They had the the graphic come up with the passing of Willie Mays, the Giant statement. And then I flipped over to watch the Mets specifically because I wanted to see what Gary Cohen and Keith Hernandez would say. They did an incredible job talking about. Keith got emotional.
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
he did.
I think they played in one of the updates, CeeLo, earlier. So Keith got emotional during it, and they just gave a great perspective on it. You know, Mays' number is retired by the Mets. It was nice to see that. I was at Old Timers Day a couple years ago. And then you're searching on social media last night and watching some of the highlights. Did you see the one? My favorite thing to watch last night, because I never saw this before. Obviously, you've seen the catch in the World Series Game 1, the basket catch going back, whatever.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Seen that over and over again. The 50-year-old Willie Mays in a Mets Old Timers Day at Shea Stadium.
Left field bleachers, right?
Yeah, going towards left field. Well, he made the catch, he was playing center field, and he makes a running catch as a 50-year-old running catch, kind of a basket catch, not directly over the shoulder the way that he did or over his head, but kind of over. Point is, in an Old Timers Day game, you can tell that a 50-year-old Willie Mays was running his ass off to make sure he caught that ball. And I think, obviously that has nothing to do with his career, but just showing you at even 50 how much he cared and how good he was. So sad to hear about the passing of Willie Mays, who we know, when you talk about the best of the best, Willie Mays' name will always be up there.
Oh, my God, there's no doubt. And we all knew about, and you just referenced it, the Game 1, Vic Wertz, bombed to dead center, 54 World Series against the Indians. What I didn't know, and this makes it even more impressive, it was the 8th inning, and it was a 2-2 game at that point.
Did not.
And I didn't know this either. And the Indians, at that point, had runners on first and second with nobody out. So if Willie Mays doesn't make that catch, you're getting certainly one run. I mean, unless you had Fred Flintstone with no cleats on running, you're going to score two because that's the other part of the catch. Think about this, guys.
Turning right around and throwing it back
as he fell. Yeah. But so the deepest center field park today is 415 feet in Coors Field.
What was it in
Colorado? That part was 450. And then the deep, that was 450. Then as it angled out a little deeper, I think where the bullpens were, because they were open at that point, It was 483.
Jeez.
So not now, and I'm like, I remember when I first saw the catch on This Week in Baseball, who knows how many years ago. I'm like, wow, amazing catch, but I don't know. I see like Devon White jumping over fences. That seems tougher.
Yeah.
When you incorporate the distance that he had to run, if it's not the toughest catch, it's definitely, I believe, the most memorable catch in the history of baseball.
You know, on one personal note, I know you met Willie before you said we were in San Francisco.
I had a chance to meet Willie Mays, yes.
I mean, that's freaking cool.
That was awesome.
I don't recall ever meeting him. I'm assuming if I did, I would recall that. But I worked with his son here at the Fan. There used to be a show called The Latin Beat with Roberto Clemente Jr.
I remember that.
At Cologne.
This is about 2005.
Yeah, I would say.
Did they play music under their segments?
Yeah.
Like they had a music beat the whole time.
That might have been a different show.
I think I remember that, though.
Well, I'm getting confused. There was another show called Sports on Wax.
Maybe
which did that.
You know what? That was it.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
Okay, but there was a different show that was called The Latin Beat. It was on a similar time because I produced both those shows on the weekend. Mm-hmm. And Michael Mays who's the son of Willie Mays, who was friendly with Roberto Clemente Jr. I forget if he was like a producer on the show or what. I mean, I was technically producing, but he was a part of that show. And I got to know him a little bit. And I remember just thinking, like, God, like, this is Willie Mays' son. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, there are certain names that you hear, no matter how old you are, that just make you think certain things are larger than life.
Yep.
And Willie Mays is one of those. He was one of those things that was always, at least in my mind, larger than life. And when you see Keith Hernandez, who in his own right, obviously a great ball player, and not that he's dismissive of fans, but you know what I mean? Like, whether it's signing stuff, like, oh, all right, or just whatever. He's Keith Hernandez, so he's not going to go nuts and sitting there signing every ball. But when he talks about getting a Willie Mays autograph. Mm-hmm. Like, for Willie Mays to be able to put guys of Keith Hernandez caliber in that perspective of being a child and wanting an autograph or appreciating that, that's how you know you're something special.
I think it's kind of similar to at Fenway, the All-Star game. I guess that would have been 99 when, remember, they were out there, Tony Gwynn on the mound with Ted Williams in the wheelchair. Yeah. I mean, there's Ted Williams, there's Willie Mays, there's Babe and Ty Cobb and Hank Aaron, Stan Musial, and there's only so many. I mean, I just ripped off 5 or 6, but there's only so many of those all-time names. And I one of the coolest videos, and I don't know if I'd ever seen this before last night, going around on social media, where he was just playing stickball in the street.
I love that.
Oh, my God. There's nothing more Brooklyn. There's nothing more New York than that.
Yeah, I know. It's business pants. Well, that's the thing that bothers me about it is that we didn't. Now, again, we were still too young anyway. We weren't even born.
I didn't play stickball once.
Well, forget about stickball. I'm talking about the fact that Willie Mays should have been more New York.
Yeah.
Like the fact that the Giants and Dodgers both. Imagine. This is always a baseball town, right? Dating back to the Giants, Dodgers, and Yankees.
Oh, yeah.
But imagine, now, maybe you could say, well, the Mets wouldn't be here, but still we'd have 3 sports teams, and you would have had Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays play out their careers here, as opposed
to Duke Snyder, who went out with Duke Snyder. My dad loved Duke. I mean, man, he's a Dodger fan. Yeah, I mean, I wonder.
Mickey, the Duke, Mays, right? Those are
Willie,
the 3.
Mickey, and the Duke. Right. Yeah, there's also a song, Say, Hey, Willie. Mm-hmm. Oh, man, it is, again, it's not sad, but it's the reality of life, and it stinks, you know, but rest in peace to the Say Hey kid, absolute old-timer. You know, and one more thing. You have to incorporate this because of the times, right? You hear, now I met him, all right? Was he like, you know, like, I don't know, incredibly outgoing and like happy and affable? No, he was reserved and some might interpret it as a little ornery. I just thought he was a little bit old and, you know, a lot older and a lot of people wanted his time. I didn't take it personally. I get it.
Been dealing with that for, you know, 80 years, whatever it may be at the time.
Yeah, it was about 80 at that point. I'm not trying to bother Willie Mays. I'm just trying to let him keep it moving. He got 1,000 people trying to get in touch with him.
Sign this. Can you take a picture?
I didn't even do that. I just shook his hand and said, you know, respect and all that stuff. In hindsight, I guess I wish I did get something signed, but I didn't.
Did you tell him you played at Marist?
Shut up. The point is players, especially the black players from back then.
Right.
Like, think about what they went through. And why are you walking through life just always happy when you couldn't travel with your team in the minors?
I mean,
like, you have to incorporate that. And you're going to hear this a lot from, and I hate that you'll hear, a lot of people are going to be saying, Willie was grumpy. Willie was it. And Willie Mays kind of had a little bit of a reason to be a little pissed off at the world if you think about it. If you think about
or looking
his
at some
life
people's
trajectory.
side. Yeah, understood.
Come on.
I would. Well, I was going to say totally get it. I don't totally get it.
No,
neither
do I, but I understand
correct.
it. I can't relate to it, but I understand it.
Yeah.
So...